Hey everyone, so I want to go through Bitcoin today, give you a short update with what I think is likely to happen at these levels and some targets to look out for, but also I want to be very transparent and show you what my bear market plan is from now, because this is really the time that you can make a lot of money if you do things properly and have a proper plan in place. So my plan from here is to essentially buy into two areas of value at two different time zones, and let me show you exactly what I mean. So I am going to stick to my guns, and I have said that I'm looking to buy and accumulate Bitcoin under 30k, in particular somewhere around the 20 to 24k mark. And the first point of purchase that I made was at $22.8 thousand. Okay. I bought in and around here at that 200-week moving average, and I bought again today at $20.2 thousand. And the reason for that is that I'm looking to buy into this massive area of support, which may be a potential bottom for Bitcoin. And I have two pots of cash, one that I am saving for this part of the bear market because I've reached some targets that I'm looking at, and then I'm also saving the second part of my investment at a later point in the year, and I'm going to tell you exactly why I'm saving and holding that money back in a moment. But before we get into that, like I said, I'm looking to buy into here because we're at the 200-week moving average, which has not yet closed, by the way. Okay, and you can see that you know, we are currently puncturing down below it, the 200-week moving average, but we haven't yet closed underneath, and we may well, you know, basically wick down below this and still close above this and show support with the 200-week moving average. And I think a lot of people are essentially been looking at the 200-week moving average, you know, everywhere on Twitter and everywhere online, and everyone's basically thought that we've broken it and that's the end of the world. But as you can see, multiple times before, we have either pierced through it or punctured down below it, and then, you know, essentially shown real support and got back above it really quickly. So and you can see that exactly what we did in the last bear market as well in 2015 before the last. So as we've got 4 days, definitely something that we want to be looking out for. We're also about I believe 50% down from the 200-day moving average, and that has typically marked out not only just key lows but market cycle bottoms. Okay, so I said that if I get confluence in certain areas, so we're into massive area of support where we're at the 200-week moving average, we are at you know, potentially or at retesting previous all-time highs. We're at 50% down from the 200-day moving average into that area of support. Okay, and you can see, like I said, that anytime we've got that 50% correction into that 200-day moving average, okay, or from that 200-day moving average, it's proved to be a really good buying opportunity for Bitcoin. So that's definitely something that I'm keeping an eye on here, and I'm happy to buy and hold into here. Currently underwater from my 22.8 that I bought in, but like I said, I'm looking to dollar cost average into these areas of value for Bitcoin. Now, in the short term, we want to be aware that there is also a Federal Reserve meeting today for interest rate announcements going on today and tomorrow in the US, and that's going to have effect on the markets. And I do believe that a 0.75 basis point rate hike is likely priced into the market already, and is probably one of the reasons why we are already down about 38 to 40% on Bitcoin in a matter of weeks. Okay, I think that everyone is anticipating a 0.75 basis rate hike, but if we manage to get a 50-point base rate hike, okay, considering that we've also had such a massive drop, I wouldn't be surprised for us to make a reversion back to the mean and finish you know, some of these weekly candles maybe a little bit higher, maybe even finish green this week. Definitely possible, and basically fake everyone out at the start of the week. And typically when price moves really far in one direction, especially when there's a big when there's a lot of news coming out, you know, the chance of us moving standard deviations even below that and like completely tanking and crashing, okay, is not that likely in my opinion. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that. Like, it doesn't have to happen, but that's basically the way that I'd be potentially reading the market. And you can see again that not only have we got some of those indicators that we mentioned a moment ago, but we've got those order blocks at 23,000, and again we've got 20,000 to about 18,000, another order block to tap into. So you know, definitely like a major area of support. And what are we looking at after a parabolic waterfall crash to the bottom? Can we see anything on the shorter time frames, okay, that are basically showing us that we might be reversing and maybe due for some kind of reversal? Well, we've had this massive crash, and now we're just starting to form some descending wedges on those shorter term time frames, which are really just a domino effect for you know, the higher time frames, because it has to happen on the 15-minute time frame first, and then the 1 hourly and the 4 hourly and the 12 hourly. And I've drawn this out before with just sort of testing this this downside wedge at the minute, but you can see that as price is wedging down, okay, we're getting this kind of movement. This is exactly what I was talking about, okay, seeing this sort of wedge action, inverted head and shoulders, these sorts of patterns, okay, towards the bottom. Okay, and let's mark out our key zone of support over here in green that we've been looking out for. You know, we're looking for these patterns at the bottom and at key support levels, okay? And like I said, in the same way that when we get towards the top of massive moves, you know, we tend to see these ascending wedges, okay, like this, okay, where we basically, you know, pierce higher. What we're doing here on the shorter time frames, definitely piercing a little bit lower with every move, okay, but the volume is also diminishing and getting a little bit weaker. So, you know, the strength of this downside move might be waning. And then some upside targets that I'd definitely be looking at, okay, is that if we do move up any higher from here, is I would be looking at a potential 2.36 and a 0.382 of this entire move, should we see some reversal from this region. Okay, and what does that coincide with? That's the level that we broke down from at 26,500 at the 236. And we've also got the top of the range that we were in prior, which is also going to be resistance exactly at the 0.382. And that would mark an appreciation from bottom just to those two fib targets of about 33% to about 60%. So definitely two areas that I'm looking out for. And the bear market rallies that you can get, okay, can be really strong and violent even when you get these massive moves to the downside, okay? So just bear that in mind. And the second part of my bear market cycle plan is to save 50% of my cash towards the back end of the year, okay, where we are likely to see the real bottom for Bitcoin. And I'm going to show you some reasons for that as well, because, you know, the 4-year cycle stipulates that we're probably going to see a bottom sometime between now and October. So I want to hold out for some potential lower prices and this order block that we've been speaking about at about $13,000 to $14,000. So there is the potential that we reach there, and that would cause a drawdown about 80%, which is also fairly typical for a normal Bitcoin bear market. But we don't have to get there, because of course, as we've had some, well, let's just say diminished returns to the upside, we might get some diminished returns back to the downside as well. So that's a reason why I'm deploying cash now and waiting and being patient until later in the year. Now, the two scenarios that I see from this, from current prices, okay, is potentially we do rally from here, okay, maybe we do challenge some of these levels at about 32,000, 28,000, and that does happen in the next few months. Maybe that does happen, and maybe we come back down and coil back over and retest the 200-week moving average, and maybe that does occur later on in the year, okay. That is one scenario. Or maybe we loiter around these levels, consolidate, maybe even don't move that high, or we do move up to $28,000. But the point is that we make the real low back, or we make the real low later on in the year in about November, October, Q4, and we do tap into this level, which is also key monthly support at about $14,000 for Bitcoin. And if we look at this historically on Bitcoin, okay, every time we've seen a bear market bottom in January 2015, and November, December 2018, we have come back down for a good retest of those lows. Okay, same thing for COVID. You can call it a black swan event, but at the end of the day, the same thing happened, and we tested some of these lower regions. So even if this was the low, okay, and we seem to bounce from this all-time high at $20,000 and we don't move any lower, I think there's still a really good chance that with time, even if we bounce up here, that we'll probably come down and retest some of these levels at a later point in time. Okay, so that's why I'm definitely going to be holding some of my cash and not rushing into this. And remember that in bear markets, we need at least a period of, you know, a lot of consolidation and accumulation, where, you know, we move sideways. So maybe that does coincide with that sideways at that 200-week moving average, and we kind of do something like this and then move higher, or then we move over here and then we accumulate and consolidate at these lower levels. Either way, we need the institutions to start buying Bitcoin for cheap. We need all the people who are selling and at weak hands to basically flush out and give up and think that we are going to go to these really low levels of $10,000, $6,000, $7,000, and make them think that the price can only go down, and then, you know, really start to move sideways, build a concrete foundation for that next bull leg higher back in or into 2024, 2023, which is when I expect that would happen. So I don't think that there's a massive rush to get into crypto at the minute. I am happy to buy it and soak up the volatility because I've marked out these key levels for quite a long time. And like I said, I look to buy into areas of value. Bitcoin, when it is this cheap, is definitely, historically speaking, you know, when you look back, it could be one of those generational opportunities to buy into an asset. And then you want to be really one of those people that looks back when Bitcoin is at about $200,000 and you say, wow, you know, you'd be arguing if you bought Bitcoin for $20,000, $23,000, or even $14,000. Okay, if you're up 10 to 15x of your money, you know, you're not going to be complaining. So really, that is the long-term plan for Bitcoin for me. So if you want to continue following my journey, consider subscribing to the channel. I am going to come out with weekly and daily videos to keep you up to date with what I'm doing and how I see the market progressing from here. If you got some value, like the video, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.